Hi, I'm Michael Marin. At Holy Name Medical Center, we believe that all citizens need to be informed about the important healthcare issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Holy Name Medical Center in Teaneck, New Jersey. Healing begins here. Berkeley College. QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. NJM, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and more, with a focus on safety and financial stability. Wells Fargo. New Jersey Natural Gas, proud to support education in our communities. And by the Russell Berry Foundation.
This is One-on-One.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
People like laughing at others, so I don't mind if the other is me.
See, you go right into the character. That's what it is.
I'm bringing families together a half an hour each week. Man, I'm doing something special.
And so I do feel successful.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. I'm about to introduce someone who is no stranger to the public broadcasting world and to the world of broadcasting and overall. She's Paula Zahn, the co-host of NYC Arts and On the Case with Paula Zahn, which airs
On Discovery ID.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
And it's our honor.
Pleasure to be here in your street side studio.
Yeah, you know the studio.
This is kind of home sweet home to me. This is where we tape a lot of our shows for NYC Arts.
Talk about NYC Arts.
It's probably the most fun job I've had in television.
Really?
It really is.
And you've had a couple of really great gigs.
I have had some interesting ones, some great ones along the way, which I feel extremely grateful for. The way I look at this show is it's the best opportunity I've ever had to interview the best of the best in the world of the arts. So I get to talk to the world's top musicians, actors, dancers, architects,
right,
photographers, and it doesn't get any better than that.
And
unlike my old world, where I could sit down and do a half-hour interview with someone, I would know the reality was that it would be edited down to a minute-and-a-half segment. So in this format, I can have thoughtful conversations. And as you know, you have to sit down with someone for longer than a minute and a half to have something interesting come out of it. So it's a real luxury to be able to do this show. And we're really proud at a time when it's so difficult to get money to cover the arts, that we have this wonderful time slot that's gotten the show a lot of attention, and the show has traction. So people are actually looking to the show and looking to us to be sort of the ambassadors of culture in New York and point out to them where some of the most interesting happenings are going on.
And NYC Arts, your co-host is?
Philippe de Montebello, a name that's familiar to a lot of folks in the tri-state area, a gentleman who ran the Met for many, many decades.
Absolutely. By the way, NYC Arts can
guy.
be seen on WNET, NJTV, the public broadcasting station in New Jersey, and WLIW. Can be seen all around the 13 world, if you will. I want to ask you a little bit about your career in broadcasting. When did you know, Paula, that journalism, broadcast journalism, would be your passion?
By the time I started my freshman year of college, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. I didn't know exactly in what form, whether it was going to be print, radio, or television. But I grew up in a family that, or at least parents, who were very invested in ideas, and I think they inspired all of us to care about what was going on in the larger world around us. And in high school, I started doing a lot of creative writing, and I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. Attended a public school that was very forward-thinking in the way it exposed us to this vast world around us. And they were very keen on having debates about current events. And that roped me in the beginning. And by the time I got to college, I knew that this is what I wanted to devote my life to. I wanted to be a reporter.
When did you get to New York?
A long way into my career. My first reporting job was in, where was that, by the way? The Dallas-Fort Worth area, starting in the Fort Worth Bureau. I was a crime reporter. I had my Datsun B210 equipped with CB radio. with a
Wow.
police scanner. And then I moved from that market to San Diego, to Houston, Boston, all in local television, then Los Angeles, my second coast-to-coast move, and my first network television job was with ABC News based in Washington, D.C.
Paul, talk to us about the fact that cancer has impacted your family and it's caused you to be very committed and involved in an effort to be helpful.
I've really tried throughout my career to be helpful. The irony of my interest in cancer coverage is that one of the first major sponsored series I did in television was in the Houston market when I was working in local television. And our local television news station partnered with a chain of hospitals and some drugstores to provide free cancer screening tests, and we also processed them for free. And as a result of our series, over 100 people in our audience ended up with positive tests. Now, some of those were false positives, but over a dozen people ended up having life-saving surgery. At the time that I was doing reporting on that series, I found out that my father had been diagnosed with stage 2 lymphoma. So I was dealing with that shock, and then 2 weeks later, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then the news just got worse and worse that year. By the end of the year, 4 members of my family had been diagnosed with cancer in various stages. So as I witnessed their battles, and I saw all the stages that they had to go through as patients and family members had to go through, I decided that I would use this wonderful pulpit I had in television to try to better educate the public about the importance of early detection, about the importance of early detection, as I said, and how to navigate the system to find the best treatments possible.
But you have that platform, but not a lot of people do anything with their platform. You chose to.
Actually, a number of my colleagues, I think, have been very effective in taking on health causes because their family members have been.
Is that a responsibility
It's a nice compliment on your part.
But you see it as a responsibility.
It is a responsibility. Now, it depends on how much of your personal life you want to open up to an audience. But I was the one who routinely, wherever I work, would have assignment editors just rolling their eyes as you came bumped up against October. And they say,
Breast
Cancer Awareness Month, and how many more mammograms stories are we going to put on the air? And
Are there
I knew
ever
that
enough?
Every time that you did a report, you would find somebody else out there who hadn't seen it before, and you could save a life. So I've found it extremely gratifying to know that we just don't report the news, but you're also given this great ability to help enhance lives and change lives, and when you have the access to this wonderful medical information that you and I have had through our careers, there is an obligation to share it.
On the Case with Paul Azan, again, can be seen on
Investigation Discovery.
And we're going to run some videos. We talk about this. Talk about that series, and it's so much different than NYC Arts, I'd say, right?
Oh, you'd say?
Yeah.
I
One
think
would say.
I have, and you can tell me if I'm correct, probably have one of the more bifurcated existences in television.
I'd say so.
So for Channel 13, I'm covering the best of what humanity can create and what it can offer. And for Discovery ID, or what we also call as Investigation Discovery, I'm not only reporting on the depravity of human behavior, we're also looking in an acute way at the legal system and how these murder cases are adjudicated, how they wind their way through the system, all the expected twists and turns as families demand justice. And I think one of the most gratifying things about doing this show is the reaction that we've gotten from families whose lives have been so dramatically affected by their traumatic losses. And their stories are so inspiring because sometimes they're going up against a very harsh legal system with limited resources, and they never give up. And we love celebrating the heroism of members of law enforcement who retire long after cases have gone cold and come back to the cases 20, 30 years later when DNA evidence is finally solving them. And it's a very, very gritty show. The legal issues are very complex. It's very interesting.
It's interesting. You talk about what's gratifying because you talk about the network side or the cable as well as the network side. Your career has also been at such networks as?
CNN.
Oh,
ABC,
yes.
remember CNN?
I heard.
First day on the job, 9/11, if you might remember.
Yes. Wow. CNN, first day on the job.
It wasn't
9/11.
supposed to be my first job, first day on the job. We were starting a morning show that
Right.
was supposed to go on the air in 2002. And I remember when I was actually walking home from dropping my baby, my Austin, off at school, and noticing people holding their phones up, and they obviously were listening to radio reports, or friends were calling them, telling them what they were hearing on TV.
Right.
And at that point, when I realized that it wasn't just an accident, I called into CNN headquarters in Atlanta and said, "Where do you need me?" And the response I got from Walter Isaacson, who was the man who had just been appointed head of CNN, was, "Well, wait a minute, you don't start for 6 months." And I said, "No, I need to come to work today." And so I was immediately deployed to CNN headquarters in New York and went straight on the air, and as was appropriate, not be introduced to someone new. It was as though I had been part of the staff
You
for
just
a
jumped
long
right in.
time. Yeah.
And from there, you also did some work at other networks such as?
Okay, Fox News was in there, ABC, CBS, and
So bring it full circle. Come back to public broadcasting. And I set this up for a reason. Not to make it a plug or a commercial, which would be, that's the irony of this. The biggest difference between public broadcasting, and even though you've had an extraordinary career and will continue to in the other work you do, what is it that you love about us in public broadcasting?
how about the fact that you don't have commercials?
What, you expect one to come up? We don't have any.
I know, you and I occasionally have to go on the air and pray for donations, but no,
yeah,
I
well,
love,
we do that. We do that.
I think for me, the greatest gift that public television gives our audience is its quality. And as a reporter, the fact that I can spend an hour with a Yo-Yo Ma and a Daniel Berriman and Aunt Sophie Mutter, all these wonderful musicians that I have the privilege to interview, to know that what ends up on the air is a real conversation and not something that is edited down to minute points. And I think that has value to an audience. But the production value that you see on public television and the content is very different than what you're going to find in cable news. And I don't mean that pejoratively. Everybody has different tastes.
Different.
In television, what they want. But I'm really very, very proud of what
You did something, I'm sorry for interrupting. You did
WNET
something with Steve Martin, right?
I did.
Can we run the clip with Steve Martin?
Sure. Was your banjo always part of your comedy act?
Well, when I started getting to be able to go up on stage, I didn't have enough material to fill the 15 minutes required. I didn't have that much comedy material, so I put the banjo in to kill time. And then it just sort of stayed.
How great.
And it stayed and it stayed and it stayed. Now, how great is that to not only be able to sit down and talk with Steve Martin about his comedy, but about his love of the banjo? And you know how he fell in love with the banjo? It's so funny. He grew up out west. He started 15 years old hanging out at Disneyland and started listening to the musicians. They were performing, and he heard the banjo, and he said, "I'd like to sign to the banjo," and that led to a lifelong love.
And you're
of
only
the
going to find that
instrument.
out on NYC Arts.
NYC Arts.
How great is that? And by the way, we have time to let people know this. You started playing the cello at?
The age of 5. And I'm so excited. I'm performing right across the street at Alice Tully Hall at the end of October with
what?
the Sejong Orchestra.
See? This is where
Come.
you don't find these things out.
Come see us.
We should let people know that you're performing at Alice Tully Hall playing the cello.
Practice, practice, practice. Look at this. Look at those
So you're not just a
fingers.
great journalist, you're a great musician, a performer, you're an artist, and you honor us by being part, not just of this show, but of the public broadcasting family. And by the way, who brought you in again?
Neil Shapiro, the big guy running.
Yeah, he brought us all together.
WNET.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Steve, and continue good luck with your show.
Same thing to you.
And will you guys make sure you keep this really nice for us next week, because we're coming back in here.
Look at that! Yes,
No,
we'll
it
keep
is.
it clean. We'll clean
They're
it
much
up.
neater than we are.
Don't worry, we'll clean it up. We'll be back right after this. After Paula Zahn gets us to clean things up. We'll be right back after this. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Did you miss combat at all?
Yeah, I do.
We were stopped at a rebel checkpoint, like 50-50, where they're going to shoot all of us. And I just went numb. The four of us would set out from Washington, D.C. and walk north. Walking along the railroad lines is completely illegal, so we would have to move fast and stay out of sight. We would have a 300-mile conversation about war.
There was nothing to hide behind.
About what it does to you and about why you miss it.
This is from Last Patrol, and Sebastian Junger is the filmmaker, also in that film. Talk to us about The Last Patrol. What is it and why does it matter?
I wanted to get to know my country again. I'd been overseas a lot covering wars, and I knew as a journalist, I knew other veterans who had been soldiers who were also having a similar problem. There's a central sort of confusing thing about war is that often when people come back from war, they miss it. They miss the worst thing that's ever happened to them. It's because it's also the most compelling thing and where they probably experience the greatest closeness with other people, people of their unit, for example. And what I wanted to do was walk through this country, and railroad lines seemed like the most interesting way to do it. Railroad track goes straight through the middle of everything. It doesn't take any prisoners. It goes right through ghettos, right through rich suburbs, right through industry. You really see America from the inside out. It also, in some ways, is safer. I mean, walking along roads is quite dangerous. The railroad track, it's illegal, but you don't have car traffic. You just have to not get hit by trains. And
From where to where?
We walked from Washington, D.C. To Philadelphia. Then we turned west. We were going to go to New York. And then we turned west at Philadelphia and went to Pittsburgh.
Get stopped?
Yeah, once we got stopped by the cops, he let us go. At one point, they had a helicopter looking for us. You know, it's a national asset. It's dangerous. It's private property. They don't like it. So there was a helicopter looking for us one night. They couldn't find us. There was a lot of cat and mouse with the police.
Sleep? Where?
Anywhere.
Eat?
We didn't have tents, so we slept under bridges, in the woods, abandoned buildings.
Did not have tents?
No, we were vagrant. Yeah, tents attract attention. You can't pitch a tent in a suburb in someone's backyard. So if you have to be totally below the radar because what we were doing was illegal. So we really were vagrants, except it was a sort of high-speed vagrancy. Like we were moving 10 to 20 miles a day.
How long did it take?
We did it over the course of a year, multiple trips. I wanted to walk it each season. So we'd walk 70, 90, 100 miles at a trip. So, you know, it was over the course of a year. It was about 350 miles.
Who are the other guys?
One was Brendan O'Byrne, a good friend of mine. I knew him out at OP Restrepo, this outpost that I covered for the film Restrepo.
We're going to be showing that in just a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Dave Rolls was also in the service. I knew him at Restrepo. Brendan was out of the service. Dave was about to get out of the service. Both of them were sort of struggling with giving war up. Like, how do you come home? How do you not go back to war? And then the last guy, other than me, was Guillermo Cervera, a wonderful Spanish photographer who I'm now very good friends with. He was with my friend Tim when he died. When Tim was bleeding out in the back of a Rebel pickup truck, Guillermo was holding his hand. And I became very good friends with Guillermo. He was not going to go back to war either. Neither was I. After Tim got killed, I decided to end it. So we were all taking this trip.
Where's Tim?
There's Tim right there.
Tell us about Tim.
Tim was my colleague and friend making Restrepo. We were out at the small American outpost for weeks at a time shooting video, and we got very, very close. He was a brother. And he was killed in Libya in a mortar attack in April 2011. Totally changed my life. I immediately stopped war reporting, like within an hour of hearing that he died.
Before we show the clip of Restrepo, I'm curious about a couple of things. You know, when I asked you why you did this, you said you wanted to fall in love with the country again?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you walk through this country, you do kind of fall in love with it.
What do you mean fall in love?
It's an amazing place. It's the most ethnically varied place country I've ever been in. The people are incredibly generous, particularly in poor communities, not so much in rich communities, but in poor communities, they're very, very generous. Very
Poor
concerned.
people more generous?
Oh, way more. and less paranoid. The really bitter people, you know, this is a time of great change in America. The people who were really bitter were sort of middle-class white people.
Why do you think that is?
People like myself, basically. I don't know. I think maybe they think they've lost more, and the poor people didn't have much to lose in the first place. I don't know. If you go, one question we asked people was, what do you like best about this country? You know, if you walk around asking people, what do you think of this country, they just complain a lot, right? And they complain a lot in sound bites that they heard on TV, and it's not that interesting. But if you say, what do you like best about this country, it brings out some interesting things. And one of the things I noticed was that in poor communities, you know, we walk right through Baltimore, the ghettos of Baltimore, all over, incredibly poor. Every other building's burned down. It's crazy.
Along those train tracks, you could see when you're taking the train down to Washington, boy, you could see in Baltimore.
Yeah, it looks like some future apocalypse of the world. It's incredible. And in those poor communities, if you ask, what's the best thing about this country, invariably people say it's a free country. We're free.
Free.
And in wealthy communities, they tend to say it's the land of opportunity.
Restrepo, before we show a clip, what does the name mean? What is it?
OP Restrepo was an outpost, a 20-man position in the Korangal Valley of eastern Afghanistan, where I spent a year off and on with Tim.
Let's take a look at Restrepo, and we'll come back and we'll talk. The rest of us who have never served and will not, do we have any idea? Any idea? Could we even imagine what war is like?
I think people would be surprised by the reality of war. I think they'd be surprised at how, you know, war movies are quite sanitized. I mean, what munitions do to the human body is pretty unimaginable. But there's also another side to it. There's an awful lot of caring, an awful lot of connection in a unit in combat. You don't just see the animal nature of human beings. You see this other very profound aspect, which is tremendous interreliance and generosity and connection. And that, I think that's the brotherhood, basically brotherhood. I think that's what people miss. That's what soldiers miss when they come back.
Is that what they want to go back to?
Yeah, I think so.
They don't want to go back to the violence.
Well, I think they enjoy the combat. I mean, combat is quite an adrenaline rush. And I think they're young men, and I think they enjoy that. But what they really miss, I think that what they really deeply miss is that brotherhood connection, and they come back to this society. It's such a messed up society. They don't fit in anymore because, frankly, they're trying to fit into an unhealthy paradigm, and they suddenly realize it.
To what degree do you feel that doing what you've done professionally makes it harder for you? Because you keep talking about they have a harder time adjusting or to fitting in. Do you think it's harder for you to fit in?
You know, journalists are different. They're not in a platoon. Journalists operate relatively independently in most war zones. When I was with 2nd Platoon, I had a slightly different experience because I was with the platoon, even though I was a journalist. But for most of my reporting has been in war zones, civil war, starting in the early 90s. You don't get that feeling of incredible connection. What you do get is, and you miss, is this feeling of importance. Like, my God, these are very important events. I'm reporting on them. It, you know, it feels meaningful and intoxicating. That absolutely is hard to give up, and just the adrenaline of the job. What soldiers invariably get, the positive side of what they get is this connection. And that's not something journalists necessarily get, although I did with 2nd Platoon.
But it's interesting. I'm a journalist, you're a journalist, but we're not the same kind of journalist.
No, that's true.
You know, I mean, I'm curious to the degree to which you connect with these soldiers. But men and women?
No, they're just men out there.
Just men. You connect with them on a very human, personal level. That is something that's hard for the rest of us, broadcasters, journalists, to experience. Objectivity mean anything to you?
Oh, objectivity is very important. I don't think it's achievable. But
Say it again?
I don't think it's achievable.
I was going to say that, yeah. Particularly in your case.
Yeah. I mean, in my case, I wasn't interested in objectivity. I wasn't reporting on the war. I was reporting on the experience of men in combat in a
telling
platoon.
a story.
Yeah. And those soldiers are not objective. They're extremely subjective. And I wanted to understand their experience. There were other great journalists out there who were objectively reporting on the war as a whole. They had that covered. I was trying to understand what it was like to be a soldier.
And before I let you out of here, for the rest of us, the most significant message that you would like your films to send to the rest of us? Simplistic question, I know, but.
I think the most dangerous thing that's happening in America right now is the idea that things that are happening in this country are somehow not happening to all of us. So if we go to war, if the country goes to war, there are people, I know them, some of them are my friends, who think the war belongs to the soldiers or belongs to the Republicans. It's not true. It belongs to all of us. People, if there are poor communities in this country, all of us are impoverished. It's not those people's problem. I hope that my work communicates that.
Well, it's important work. Sebastian Junger is a filmmaker. Last Patrol. And by the way, again, just one more time, the other film is?
Restrepo. Korengal is the follow-up to Restrepo. I made a film about Tim called Which Way is the Front Line from Here?
Which Way is the Front Line from Here? About your friend Tim?
About Tim, his work, his death, his life. And then finally, The Last Patrol.
You're doing incredibly important work, which is an understatement.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you joining us in public broadcasting. We hope that as many people as possible see your work and are moved by it. And just thank you very much, Sebastian, for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I just want to make sure. By the way, November 10th, HBO is The Last Patrol, right?
Yep.
And folks, just go on Sebastian's website to find out the rest of the information. Thanks. We'll see you next time on One-on-One from Lincoln Center. Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Holy Name Medical Center, Berkeley College, Qualcare Inc., NJM, Wells Fargo, New Jersey Natural Gas, and by the Russell Berry Foundation. Promotional support provided by Commerce Magazine, and by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Company offers policies that can protect against auto accidents, fires, windstorms, floods, and many other serious and urgent situations. Tips on what to do before, during, and after you're confronted with the unexpected are on the emergency preparedness section of njm.com. New Jersey Manufacturers, helping the Garden State prepare for the unexpected for nearly a century.